So one aspect of history that I highlight frequently in my Lady Darby books is the act of body snatching, and in particular the criminals Burke and Hare. So prior to the Anatomy Act of 1832, British medical schools had difficulty procuring cadavers for their anatomy classes because only the bodies of executed criminals could be used for this purpose, which amounted to only about 2 to 3 bodies annually per school. This led to the practice of body snatching, where recently buried bodies were stolen from their graves and sold to medical schools. It was a lucrative trade, and Burke and Hare, 2 laborers in Edinburgh, sought to take advantage of this practice. Rather than risk being caught while performing the difficult labor of disinterring bodies from the local cemeteries, they instead began inviting victims to their lodging house, plying them with alcohol and smothering them to death. They then sold the bodies to the Surgeons' Hall at the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, namely to well-known anatomist and lecturer Dr. Robert Knox. But Burke and Hare were caught in November of 1828, but not before they murdered 16 people. The case lacked sufficient evidence, however, so Hare was convinced to testify against his partner and escaped prosecution. Burke was hanged on January 28, 1829, and afterward his body was transported to the University of Edinburgh to be publicly dissected. His death mask, skeleton, and several articles made from his tanned skin, including a book cover, are on display at the university's Surgeons' Hall Museum. Dr. Knox escaped prosecution, but public opinion turned sharply against him and other anatomists for his part in providing incentive for the murders. Body snatchers, or resurrectionists as they were popularly called, worked all over Great Britain. When security in cemeteries near the medical schools in London and Edinburgh became too tight, bodies robbed from other parts of Britain and as far away as Ireland were transported to the schools for use. After the trial of Burke and Hare, citizens in London and Edinburgh were panicked by the idea that similar enterprising criminals might be at work, murdering hapless citizens and selling their bodies to anatomists and medical schools. Medical schools were forced to pay closer attention to where their bodies were procured, and legislation reform became a necessity.